mailbag time here on NFL Daily. Tyler Jones here. Thanks for joining us. Time to answer your mailbag questions that you send us on our live shows that we do on our NFL Daily channel. You guys use the hashtag NFL or Super Chat, and we answer those questions on the channel. And I got to make sure you're subscribed. That way you, too, can be a part of our next mailbag segment. I know that I get people asking me all the time, Tyler, I want to be a part of a mailbag segment. How do I keep on missing these? Well, if you joined us on the live show, subscribed. We're live each and every Tuesday and Thursday. And you can send your questions in. Use that hashtag NFL or Super Chat. Subscribe. That way you never miss a moment and can be a part of our next mailbag segment here on the channel. Let's get started. First question from Joshua with a $2 Super Chat saying, should the Bills trade for a number 2 receiver? Absolutely they should. And I'll say this. When I look at the Buffalo Bills, the big glaring weakness that I would point to is within the passing game, right? It's Josh Allen, for one, not having enough targets, but turning the football over too much as well. And I think the two kind of go hand in hand with each other. I would guess that if Josh Allen had better receivers to throw the football to, he wouldn't be throwing as many interceptions and turning the ball over like he is. Now, that doesn't completely dismiss the 3 interceptions he had on Monday night, but it certainly could help things if he had a better receiving core as far as that goes. Should they trade for another number 2 receiver? Absolutely they should. They should get Josh Allen all the help he needs to be able to make that push and contend there in the AFC. Laura writes in, hashtag NFL, who should the 49ers trade at the deadline to help their team with protecting the quarterbacks? Well, you already have Trent Williams, the best left tackle in the National Football League, arguably the best left tackle of all time. So you got some good help there. But as far as other potential guys go that are going to be available at the deadline, that's a great question. I don't know exactly who's going to be available at the deadline, but there is one guy at the time of this recording that's available as a free agent still. That's Dalton Risner. I know that he's been mentioned with the Minnesota Vikings potentially and some other teams out there. If your team is looking for a good offensive lineman that's still available right now, keep an eye out on a Dalton Risner potentially to be able to be signed, and your team could start right away if you bring him in. Robert writes in, who should I start this week, Tua or Herbert? So the Dolphins are playing the Patriots this week. That's a tough defensive matchup there for Tua to go up against that Patriots defense. Meanwhile, the Chargers are playing the Titans. And the Titans, this team, I'm looking at what Mike Vrabel's got in that bunch, and I think there's a big opportunity for Justin Herbert to have a big day. Not saying that Tua can't play well, but I think it's more likely that Justin Herbert and the Chargers play better against the Titans than what we see from Tua and the Dolphins against the New England Patriots. So I would start Justin Herbert if I were given the choice. Now, granted, let me preface all that by saying I'm not playing fantasy this year. I'm taking the year off, so I might be the wrong guy to ask, but that's my uneducated advice for you. I'll go with Justin Herbert to be the guy I would start this week. Kudos to you, though, for having both those guys on your team, though. It's pretty impressive. Pushin says, that's a funny name, should the Ravens trade for Jonathan Taylor? Great question, Pushin. I'll just call you Pushin. We'll leave it at that. When it comes to Jonathan Taylor, I think the Ravens absolutely need to look at trading Jonathan Taylor. And here's the thing, when it comes to Baltimore, what's a unique circumstance for this Ravens team is that you have, the next 3 weeks while Jonathan Taylor is still on the PUP list to kind of figure out who you are. The next 3 weeks, the Ravens are in a position where they can find out if Gus Edwards, if Justice Hill, if these guys, Melvin Gordon, can get the job done. If they play well enough and look the part, then you can figure out and say to yourself, you know what, we don't need Jonathan Taylor. So I think what's actually going to happen is they're going to say, look, we don't have enough to carry this workload on, enough good running backs that we can trust. And the main thing is, as you change this offense there with this Baltimore Ravens team Todd Monken's bringing in, he wants Lamar Jackson to run less. They don't want Lamar to have to put himself in a position to get hurt. You need a run game you can trust. I think when these next 3 weeks pass by, Jonathan Taylor comes off the PUP list, that he's a very realistic option for the Ravens to trade for. Very well could see this happening if Jonathan Taylor ending up in Baltimore. Will the Colts trade Jonathan Taylor? It's our pinned comment today. What do you think? Y for yes, in for no. Will there be a trade? Chime in and let me know what you think if the Colts will ultimately move on from Jonathan Taylor or not. Next question from Junior Estrada says, should the Patriots trade for T. Higgins? Man, so the asking price, I was thinking about this when it comes to T. Higgins. I think you're looking at where T. Higgins' value is, a couple things. First off, money-wise, franchise tag is going to be around $19.75 million for the wide receiver position next year. So you have to think a long-term contract is going to pay him even more than that. You're probably going to give him a 4-year deal. So he's not cheap when it comes to money-wise. Draft capital, a guy that's just now entering his prime is not going to be cheap. I think you're talking about a first, and then maybe even a second, and then like a fourth or a fifth potentially to be able to bring in T. Higgins. It's expensive, but the Patriots can afford it. If they want T. Higgins, they can have him. So, Junior, I like the idea of T. Higgins going to New England and helping out Mac Jones there. I don't expect something to happen at the trade deadline, but this could be something to follow of a potential deal in the offseason to see where he goes. New England's not my favorite to land there, but I see him as a contender. Remember, they almost brought in DeAndre Hopkins, but ultimately decided not to do so. Today's show is sponsored by Game Time. Game Time is one of our newest partners here at Chat Sports. And the great thing about Game Time, it's an easy-to-use mobile app to get tickets to the games that you want to go to. Game Time makes it easy, and they offer the best prices compared to anyone else out there. If you want to go to a football game, a concert, a comedy show, they got it all. And, folks, I got to tell you, a couple weeks ago, decided on a whim, you know what, I want to go to a baseball game. And my options were limited of when I could get a ticket, how fast, and still to make it on time and at an affordable rate. That's where Game Time came in, and they saved the day. They were able to hook me up, and they can hook you up as well. And here's what we're offering here on NFL Daily. You use the promo code NFL Chat. We're giving you $20 off. Yes, you heard that right. $20 off with the promo code NFL Chat. So go ahead and download Game Time. Terms and conditions do apply, and you get $20 off. It's a great deal. You get to see where your seat is, the best prices compared to anyone else out there, and you can pay within just a matter of moments. It's easy to use, and it's as good as any of them out there, folks. I love Game Time. You'll love it too. Download today, $20 off with promo code NFL Chat. Get your tickets now. Game Time, the place to be. Brew Crew 8788 writes in, what's your hot take on the NFL this season? All right, Brew Crew. You ready for this? Are you ready for this? You see what I did there? My hot take after 1 week, and me and Smitty were talking about this the other day. I said before the season that the Bucs were going to be better than people think. He called me crazy. He said, "What are you talking about, Tyler? You're being biased towards your Oklahoma guy." I said, No. Baker's the real deal. They have talent there. Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Devin White. Don't sleep on the Bucs. And he told me, Tyler, they suck. They're one of the worst teams in the NFL. I said, Eddie, watch. Don't sleep on the Bucs. Then they beat the Vikings. I had the Bucs covering. I'll be honest, I didn't pick them to win, but I thought they'd compete. They won, they covered. I think the Bucs. I'll even take it up a step further. I think the Bucs might win the NFC South. In fact, I think they will win the NFC South. There's my hot take. Bucs win the NFC South. How do you like that? A little spicy for you, Brew Crew? You know you like it. You like that. Orrin Smith, who do you have winning the American Football Conference? Great question, Orrin Smith. The team I have winning the American Football Conference did not win last week, but they're about to get two players back that they desperately need. They have the best quarterback in the world, the most talented quarterback I've ever seen. They have, I think, the best coach in the NFL right now. The Kansas City Chiefs will win the AFC. I'm not wavering based on one loss against Detroit in just weird circumstances. And the other thing, too, I know people are going to point to, well, that receiving core just blows. Brett Veach and Andy Reid are not just going to sit there and be content with the receiving core not being that great. If they feel like they need to go get a Mike Evans at the trade deadline, Chiefs will go do that. Don't count out the Chiefs. They're going to still win the AFC. Botsman 10, is it possible for the Ravens to land Chase Young? It is. Glad you asked. So when it comes to Chase Young, it's a very interesting situation. Chase Young has been cleared medically. Sounds like the knee isn't an issue. Chase Young's okay. So that's the first big step. And you're looking at a guy that's a generational talent. I mean, if you were to build a pass rusher in the lab, he'd look like Chase Young, okay? Those guys don't walk through the door every day. Right now, you could probably have Chase Young for a second-round pick. Commanders didn't give him the fifth-year option. They're not extending him. They're clearly done with him. So, the Ravens could use some help in the pass rush? Yeah, I think that's certainly possible. They could go Chase Young. I would expect it to be kind of a rental, though, at least for now. I don't think teams with still the uncertainty at the injury thing, although I don't think it's an issue, and it sounds like it's not, there's still going to be teams that are skeptical and want to see how he plays after the injury. I think you can trade for Chase Young right now, take on the rookie contract, see how he plays, and then figure out the extension in the offseason. I would think that's a possibility for Baltimore. Where will Chase Young play at the end of this season? Does he get traded at the trade deadline? Is he back in Washington? Chime in. Tell me what you think, what happens with Chase Young, and chime in the comment section below. Appreciate you joining us here on NFL Daily. Subscribe to the channel for more NFL coverage, and we'll see you next time. Thanks for joining.